The rules of origami are 1 sheet of paper, no cuts, and no glue. The idea is to simply transform the paper through folds alone. Much of the focus in origami is on accuracy of representation, especially with representational design. I like pieces that have an abstract quality to them or a more sculptural quality to them. I'm not looking for realism. I always feel like I've had to have a creative outlet. Origami is one of those that I would always come back to. The process is what's enjoyable and really interesting to me. It's incredibly meditative, really. I get into that flow state, not thinking about anything, really just present in the moment. When I started designing origami, it felt very different to me than these other types of creative outlets. It was something that feels very natural and unforced. There is this almost obsessive aspect to it for me. I want to do it all the time, frustrated when I don't have the time to design, when I have ideas that I can't explore. And when I do have the time to do it, it's just pure joy. There's this puzzle-solving aspect to origami that a lot of us are drawn to, and it is kind of hard and challenging in that way. So when you're working towards something and all those pieces come together in that perfect way, it's incredibly rewarding and fulfilling. It takes me instantly into a good place. There's a lot of work that goes into preparing the paper before we start folding a piece. It's very challenging to find the right paper, and then I always have to cut it down to the right proportions for the model. I hand score the paper first, then it's just a process of folding along the lines that I've scored and collapsing the model. My designs have come from simply playing with the paper in my hands and just exploring lines that remind me of a form or a figure, or certain patterns that remind me of a sheep's coat. I'm really drawn to these patterns aesthetically. I find these patterns really beautiful. In origami, we describe tessellations as putting grids in paper and then using that grid to fold a pattern across that page. I like to use those patterns in representational design in unique ways, in ways that maybe aren't really obvious. We start with a single sheet of paper. We end up with a single sheet of paper. And there's infinite possibilities. It's often compared to music in that regard. If you write a piece of music and then you can write down a score and someone else can play that music. I hope that people get interested or curious about what origami as art means. To think of it as something that's accessible, something that's approachable. It's as easy as just picking up a piece of paper and playing with a piece of paper.